What's up, everybody? This is Sean here at Morning Lifter. I have another great guest with us today. My old my old college teammate. Jesus, it seems that long. My old college teammate
Yeah.
from Kent State University, Sam Frist.
How you doing, Sean?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Great to be on here. Thank you for the privilege to come on and interview with you today on this podcast. It's great.
Yeah, it's been a long time, man, but we've been able to connect and stay in touch through social media. And I just wanted to reach out and have a discussion with you just about give other people a chance to kind of hear your story, because I think it's one that's pretty remarkable, and one that I think can be an inspiration and a hope for other people who might be going through what it is you're going through. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. But what I want to do to start off is just let's relive some of the glory days, man. And so give us kind of a background into, how you came to Kent State, and let's talk a little bit about, your learning process playing football there and what you took away from it. And then we'll get into the next section.
Yeah. Well, a lot at once to think about. And it's just so much information to condense down to one, keep this down. But, in a nutshell, after high school, I went to Hargrave Military Academy, and they call it the Grave. It's a military school. Basically, just went there for a semester for post-grad football, which does not even exist anymore. It's outlawed since 2012, where a lot of us came from.
Wow.
And went to Kent State, chose to commit there. And it was through Doug Martin. You guys had Doug Martin for the first year there. So you guys had him for one season after Dean Pease left. I remember that. And committed right on the spot. A lot of pressure in that coach's office that one day during the visit. You remember those?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. They said, "Oh, yeah, this is going to be gone in about 3 days if you don't take it now. Maybe even a day. We'll have to give it to some other kid." And I'm like, "Gosh, I want to get out of that military academy."
Yeah.
So, gotta go, and didn't want to wait on any other school. And from there, it's been an eye-opening experience. Had the best time with you guys, playing against you on offense, and while I played defensive line, man, it was like Clash of the Titans. Getting ringers every day, and we toughed it out, and it taught us everything. From the biggest takeaway from this is overall, it taught me life. Every aspect of life, just mental challenges, physical challenges, how to deal with challenges at work, how to facilitate any kind of a project at work from start to finish through leadership and delegation. And it really did do that, because football and our coaches that we had the privilege to be under were top assets, the qualities that we had involved in our lives. And a lot of kids don't have that opportunity. And I think you could take that and agree that it molded who we are today. And I'm grateful for that. And football makes everything in life so much easier. I can't say I've been through the military. I've been a police officer. I've been everything, and everything's been easy compared to football. In a way,
Yeah.
It really has. Those practices were the hardest thing in the world. I mean, now I have not been deployed, but granted, my friends who've been deployed had it harder than that. But everything has been. It was the pinnacle of life, and everything was from there spiraled out like a spider web, and that's life. But that was. We're not pinnacle, but the base of life. College football was for us.
It really, I would have to agree with you, especially looking back. You realize, the amount of responsibilities that we truly had were so limited. You had to make sure your rent was paid, obviously. But for the most part, we knew where we were, when and how we were going to eat. That wasn't really an issue, but it was it just seemed to be at the time, even though we weren't winning as much, though we had the chance, even though we weren't winning as much, I think we still found ways to have not only a lot of fun, but we found a lot of ways to grow, and we, I mean, there's so many of us that still keep in contact with each other, and the memories, like you said, are still very, very embedded, and has really, I mean, I know that it's shaped a lot of my own philosophies as well. So, and those practices were just awful. I mean, I think anybody that has been through any type of collegiate practice can attest to that they were nothing of an ease because it just, the demands that were required to play at such a high level required such a demanding practice. So, I mean, it really was. But so let's talk about after because I left. I think you had one more year after me, right? You came in a year after.
You left. I think was your senior year 07?
2007, because I think you came in 2005, right?
Yeah, I was a red shirt though, so I played until 09.
Yes.
09.
Okay. Okay. So, Sam, let's talk about how you transitioned from college to the next step. You had mentioned you'd been in the military, you had been in the police force, and I had noticed too that you had dropped a significant amount of weight, put on a significant amount of muscle. I mean, you're looking obviously very, very good than our days of the evergreen buffet, the all-you-can-eat buffets. We all seem to be in a little bit better shape. So how did that, talk to me about your weight loss, talk to me about getting into the military, and what was first? Did the weight loss come first, or did the military come first? And how did all that kind of marry together?
Really, that's an interesting question you asked. So it really started off the weight loss. That was my first goal after graduating. And I was about 280, 275. That was my playing weight. I think the heaviest I ever weighed was close to 290 at one point. It was just too heavy for me. It was a man-made build. It wasn't natural for me, like Ish Kitchen and Aaron Hall and like some of you guys in the offensive line. I just wasn't big like that. I literally had to gain 100 pounds throughout 10 years, intentionally. And pizza and burgers was the only way, and beer.
Yeah.
So, we killed it. But for real, the biggest thing that I dropped was bread, any kind of a yeast factor in the beer after college. Bread was number one, though. I read about bread. It blows you up. Dropped that. Ate a lot of cheese. I read something about cheese, and I ate that instead, and I lost about 50 pounds. Throughout about 4 months. And during that time frame, I was transitioning and interviewing to become a police officer in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And that's where I got my first job after college. I did that for about 5 years. And after about 4.5, I enlisted in the military in the National Guard in North Carolina. I became a logistics analyst. I didn't want to do infantry, even though I would have loved to. However, I wanted to use my MOS, which is your occupational specialty in the military, the acronym. I wanted to use that for business purposes to get transition out of law enforcement. That was my goal as my final step, instead of having to go back to college and get another degree, because I had a criminal justice degree. I got trained in their ERP systems and SAP, similar to Oracle systems. It's inventory management systems for businesses and for consumer products, goods companies, kind of like Smuckers, Clorox, Georgia Pacific, all those big parent companies that own a lot of these product goods manufacturers that they've encompassed over their lifetime. And so therefore I got into as a business analyst, as you can say, I got into that, and got into order management, customer service, built my way up into planning, and became a buyer at one point for Home Depot. And then now I'm an analyst for Print Packs, a flex packaging manufacturer. And right now, due to COVID, I'm working 100% from home. It's been for the past 5 years I've been doing this, and it's been a good transition. Good, brought back normalcy to life. That's what I missed. You just don't get that in working for the government. And did my time, and I loved it. Worked with some good dudes. Talk about guys you would want to go to war with. It was the camaraderie, just like sports.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good time. So
talk to me a little bit about some of the attributes and characteristics of the military. Did you see any carryover from football into the military in terms of attitude, toughness, determination, all the things, because we hear all the time the analogy that football is war, football is the battlefield, the front lines. We've heard all those analogies. How similar is it when you went through the training and the boot camp, and did you see any similarities, especially on the leadership end of it?
First of all, leadership, it's, you and I can see eye to eye on this. We always saw and identified ourselves as vocal or leaders by example. I like to see myself as a mesh of both. I think I like both sides of the aisle right there, and I try to use them both to become a more well-rounded leader. And I thought a lot of us were like that in the football team. We brought that with us, and throughout the academy and throughout basic training and advanced individual training and working with the tanks, working with the Black Hawk unit I used to work for recently. I'd like to physically, it was nothing to us. It was tough. However, we had that base. We had that experience in the past. We know what really tough is. And it just never got to that point where it matched football. And it got close at times. Don't get me wrong, it was hot. Carrying that equipment and rucking was for the Army was a lot to deal with. But however, policing was another one. It was just a lot of, physicality and having to lead by example, a lot of administrative, try to put the best words to that, a lot of administrative leadership, how to show, professionals, report writing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And but it was worked with some great people, got to know a lot of people in the community, helped a lot of people, made some changes and some differences there. And it just wasn't for me anymore. I just wanted to get out. And the military is more something I wanted to use as a transition for a career building aspect into business. And I wanted to do as a bucket list too. But
yeah. So you used it, like you said, more strategically. It was a more of a way of a means to an end, really, to get you where you wanted to go. You had a long-term vision. So talk to me about that vision, because I see a lot of times people struggle with either goal setting or trying to figure out where it is they want to go, especially at college. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I got out of college and I got to the end and I was like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly.
And I felt for a long time pretty lost there before I had gotten into coaching and education. But, talk to me, when did you discover, or when did you come up with that vision or that goal point that you said, okay, this is good. This is where I want to go. This is how I'm going to get there.
Ironically, my father and my brother are they work for consumer packaged goods companies. They had that experience in IT related programs, and I saw what they did. It envisioned my goal from there and said, hey, I'm interested in doing this. This looks like something I could do. I'm really nifty with that technology and all that stuff. So we all are to a certain point, but it was my way to a lifestyle that I liked and wanted to have. And that's what, I'll go to work during Monday through Friday and have the weekends off. But it's not just about that, but having good benefits and having a good quality lifestyle, and not having to tax myself in the heat. I was getting worn down. I had a lot of injuries. I had so many surgeries. I've so many I can't even count, orthopedically and from cancer, that I just needed something to calm down on,
Mm-hmm.
and something more safe and healthy for me. And it was a good transition. Now, it was a long 6-year commitment through the military to do that, but it was only working the weekends. I had to just commit 5 months of full-time training with them at first, and then work for a unit weekends and 2 weeks in the summer while I pursue my new career.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. I got it. I got a chance to interview at a few companies. One worked out down in Atlanta. Loved the area. Clorox gave me that chance, and I ran with it, and succeeded at it. Brought all these characteristics, all these qualities, these skill sets I had prior from the military, and the skills in the same program that the military uses as Clorox uses. And that's what I envisioned and what I put forth into my plan, into a career change, and it really succeeded at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope others can take that and run with it themselves one day if they had to make that choice.
Right.
I know nowadays, right now, during this time, a lot of law enforcement are leaving, they're transitioning out, and they're asking me this. They're asking, hey, Sam, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? Well, find something else, another hobby that you're interested in, and get trained in it in some sort of way, and put in the work. Find a way. And
Yeah.
I did it the hard way. Some people said I didn't have to do that, but I wanted to do the military one day while I was still a little young. Get to taste it a little bit. It wasn't active duty, but National Guard was a good way of doing it. My cousin, Luke Frist, he's served in the National Guard in Indiana. He died in it. He gave his life over in Iraq, and we honor him till this day, every year. And God bless him. So he was a true hero. But yeah, I really wanted to honor him. I had a lot of factors to why I wanted to join the military. So big life changer, and I thank him. Yeah, it was a good choice.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, it sounds like you're really everything that you're doing it right, and keeping that memory strong that's really good. That's really important, and
Yeah.
I'm sure he knows that. So I kind of want to back up just a wee bit. So
Sure.
We talked a little bit about, your big game changers with the diet. What did you do training wise? Did you do anything differently? Did you stay with the bench and the squat and, all the heavy lifting? And some people go into running, did you get the CrossFit bug? How did your training change that has put you in the consistently good shape that you are now?
Sure. I got into CrossFit right after college too. Got into that. All CrossFit did was re-emphasize the same movements that we were used to doing, powerlifting.
Right.
Loved it that way. But eventually my right leg went numb one day and had to get me back fused. So it wasn't because of CrossFit. It was because I had some unknown issue I didn't know for a long time, my whole life. And I was about to become paralyzed. So I had to get it fused.
Jeez.
At 27 years old. Yeah. It's so
old man at 27. We find out how old we are once we're done playing, aren't we?
Oh my gosh. I feel so much better now. I feel younger now than I do at 18, 20.
I do too.
Yeah. We felt like Dan Marino getting out of bed. It took him 10 minutes to get up in the mornings, I heard.
Yeah. Well, so are you still CrossFitting, or what's your? I know things are a little bit different now for you, but I mean, what? So right. I guess well, let's maybe we should back up. So you're currently undergoing treatment for cancer right now, right?
Correct.
So how did you discover that?
Okay. Well, during 2 years ago, I found that, myself, I diagnosed myself with testicular cancer, and believe it or not, through YouTube. And then it's the only, technically it looks like an injury, but you don't hurt at all. It's a silent killer, just like most cancers. And I went frantically into the urologist office same day and like, take me in right now. I got cancer. I know I do. And sure enough, he says, you sure do. And I'm like, yeah. And
Wow.
ironically, yeah, we got the ultrasound. It wasn't just in one side, it was both sides. I had tumors in
Jeez.
both men below the belt, unfortunately. So, and once you get them in there, it's too inundated. It's too late.
Yeah.
Whether it's benign or not, um, meaning that it's cancer or not, the tumors are tumors. They grow, that overcome is what they do.
Right.
And it's the fastest growing cancer too. So because all the blood flow below your belt, and excuse me, but it eventually goes up into your abdomen, goes to your brain, like Lance Armstrong.
Right.
And I looked at what he went through. Excuse me. And he had a mindset of a warrior. I don't care what they say about Lance Armstrong. I know he was caught doing what he did, but he before all that took place, and he did put his best effort into defeating something so overwhelming, so overpowering. He looked like a ghost by the time he was out of chemo, and he beat it. He had tumors all over his lungs, and I really looked at that and looked at other athlete examples overcoming odds with cancer, and it was just overwhelming to it was an overwhelming sense of empowerment. And I said, why can't I do that? Why can't that be me? I've already done it 14 times, 13 times with other surgeries. Why can't I do it now? Darn right, I did it. Luckily I only had to have surgery the first time. They said I caught it really early. But apparently this whole time it was in me the whole time, and it was in my lymph nodes. So it came back. It's in my abdomen now. Got a good prognosis, very good prognosis. Testicular cancer is very receptive to chemo. I chose chemo instead of radiation because I want to cleanse the whole body, instead of, because it could be anywhere else that I don't know. And it could pop up somewhere. So radiation is more targeted in one little area.
Right.
So I chose the hard way. I only want the hard way because we only know the hard way. We that's all we know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very true.
yeah,
I think I would
yeah,
probably end up doing the same thing,
yeah. I know
because
you would, Sean.
the
Yeah,
the way through hell is the hardest way.
it
And
is.
I mean, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah,
And that goes back to a lot of the experiences that we had playing football, because we knew there was something greater on the other side. And so
hmm,
that mindset, I mean, can't I can't possibly begin to imagine, what you've had to go through and what you've had to do. But there was never a second that I doubted that you never had the mindset of a warrior, considering all the things that you've willingly put yourself through to be
uh,
in the military, to be, I mean, through Hargrave, through Division I college football, through the military itself, through police
yeah,
training, all the different things that you've gone through. You definitely could have gone some easier routes,
yeah.
but
It was just that's just our personality we've built
yeah,
within our souls,
yeah.
and it's ironic. I called up Coach Martin a year ago or 2 years ago almost. I said, guess what? I literally did what you always said that you would do. Put your left nut in a pickle jar.
Yeah,
And I said, well, I did. I went a little harder than that. I put
yeah,
both of them in
yeah.
there. Yeah. So he got a good laugh out of that. That
I'm
was last
sure
time
he
I talked
did.
to Coach
Yeah,
Martin, but yeah,
I'm sure he had some good words of wisdom for you too.
yeah, he did. He did. He's a good inspiration. Glad to see that he succeeded with that program over there and
Yeah,
changed around. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah,
So
my training regimen during this whole process, though, is that what you were trying to get to?
yeah, I mean, especially now with the chemotherapy that you're going through, did did you talk to anybody about what you could or couldn't do? You know, where was, you mentioned Lance Armstrong, because it's really, really easy, especially for a male, and to lose both of them. You know, I mean, that could be, I mean, that's your,
it's a life change. Yeah, it's you got to
like,
take
it's hard for
testosterone
me to
forever.
put it in words, because not only are you losing all of your testosterone, the first thing that I think about is like my two little kids running around upstairs.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many easy, you've got an easy way out, you know, for an excuse, and you're not going that route. And so talk to me a little bit, because I think a lot of people could use your story as a motivator. What did you do?
It was tough to take all that in at first, but to me, number one was stay alive. It takes over every other thought. Right. Kids, having testosterone, family, that's the second, third choice right there. To me, it all starts with life, and you got to stay alive. So that was my way of, hey, they wanted to try and save something out of me, but it was in my opinion, it was hard to deal with at the time, and I was married at the time too. So it did not last, but you know what? Everybody goes their own separate ways, and I supported her. So we kids is, man, you know, I wish I still had the option right now. I kind of at first, you know, I didn't want a family, but you know, it's just now you get a little older and that happens. I'm like, gosh, I can't believe that all happened. But I didn't have, nothing was good quality that came out of me in order to do that.
Right.
So that was hard to take in. And I made the choice that, okay, whatever came out of me during surgery can't really chance, because nothing's really kind of covered by insurance, fertility wise.
Right.
It's an arm and a leg. And I figured, you know what, I'd rather, you know, if I do one day have a family, I can always adopt, you can always foster. And there's always still choices.
Right.
There's always, and there's donors, you know, that there's still a chance. There's always a way. You'll find a way.
Right.
and everything that from me, it was inundated. So from the cancer, and I just, in my opinion, I think that was the best route to move forward from there. And as far as testosterone, you know, ironically, I take weekly testosterone shots in order to just basically live. I mean, a male without testosterone, you get indirectly hit throughout time with diabetes, bone density issues, cardiovascular disease. I had no clue that was a factor.
Right.
You live a short life without it, but it helped. And my training regimen changed after my back surgery, and I got into Orange Theory Fitness. You know, those fitness boutiques. I've been doing it for over 5 years now, and it's been a life changer. Different way of training. Lots of running, rowing, TRX, dumbbell movements, and there's some heavy dumbbells in there. But I also supplement that with band training as well.
Okay.
Which I got into recently, actually, since COVID hit, when I had to work from home. Everyone bought the home gym equipment.
Yeah.
And I bought it up, and it's pretty expensive, but it's been, my gosh, that changing your way from what I believe traditional weights, where it's heaviest when it's heaviest at the bottom. But with a band, it's reversed. It's heaviest when you expand out towards the top, and it's weaker towards the bottom. So I think I needed that big change in my life during that time frame. And my gosh, it really does what it says it does. You get huge. You get huge, and you get increased muscle mass and strength. Because I'm throwing around the 80-pound dumbbells, single arm snatches like a toy. I need something bigger at the Orange Theory. I'm telling them, so you gotta get hundreds now, you know.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, that stuff is. So I just use that 4 times a week as like a base strength. and you got your bench, your front squat. You can't do back squats with it, but you can do front squat and traditional secondary lifts like arm curls, tricep push down, shoulder press with it. There's really only 8 basic moves with it, and you can do a few others with it, but it gives you that strong, sturdy base. And it's been really a lifesaver. And then I go into Orange Theory to supplement it all, the rest, the cardio, and all around functional fitness routine. Go about 4 or 5 times a week. And it's really saved my life throughout cancer once, and the first time, and now twice, because ironically, I went and saw the doctor yesterday, get my blood work every week, and cancer, the chemo dipped my white blood cell count to near to 0. And we're in the middle of COVID, and I live in Atlanta. What am I going to do? I got cancer at the worst possible time. It's as if I'm facing Cuba on the last level right now. I'm like, I don't even, I thought about having cancer. I'm like, gosh, wouldn't it be the worst thing to have cancer right now again? And by God, I spoke too soon. So it was, God gives me another challenge. I'm like, challenge accepted. So let's go. Let's beat it again. And
I mean, that's that kind of attitude and mentality, man, that's, I think, what's going to push you through it, So how has, if you were to give advice to somebody who maybe has gotten a similar cancer diagnosis, right? So how would you kind of walk them through about the importance of being fit, staying in shape, continuing to train even through, the chemotherapy? Because you had mentioned that it was a lifesaver for you.
It was really the physical aspect, the exercise is really, it's all mental. It keeps you, it sustains a positive thought process because it gives you a lot of oxygen in your brain. That's the scientific fact. It opens up those blood vessels, and you feel much better for the day. So if you can get in and work out in the mornings, if you can, I highly recommend it. Now, if you work out period, that's awesome. Do it any time of the day. But I always translate, positivity comes from, it starts with that workout. That's my thought process. And that's always been a hobby of mine, and your hobbies are what you love to do. So, and it's your hobby too, Sean. Working out is life to us. That's our base. That's what we revert back to. Whenever we get mad or whenever we're sad, we want to work out, burn off some steam. And having that base of fitness helps with cancer, just like surgery, recovery. It's cut everything in half. I'm not getting symptoms like the normal guy gets. My blood work just jumped right back up this week to unbelievable numbers before chemo even started, which is really, no one believed me, but I really attribute it, I think, to the exercise regimen I've been doing, and it's kept my appetite up. It keeps your appetite up as you lose your appetite during chemo, and man, I've been eating like a monster lately. So
Got to get Evergreen Buffet to send you some free some free food, man. Get you those crab legs.
But I'll give further advice is, always stay busy. Always give yourself a task during the day. Like, stay busy with work. That's what I do all day right now. I haven't missed a day at work. I mean, even though granted I work from home, I have that luxury. So a lot of people don't. But if I could work from home, work from the hospital while I'm getting the IV drip, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Like, I'm lucky to sit in a chair all day. A lot of those people out there don't have a job now, and I feel for them. They work in a plant and they got kids at home. How are they going to watch their kids during this COVID crisis? My gosh, it's insurmountable. I don't know what they're going through, and all I can really say is just stay busy, keep your mind off things and the negative thought process, and most importantly is you can't dwell on the past. I used to dwell on the past a lot in my past years, and found out that you can only keep moving forward. You can't beat on yourself for making what you think, in your opinion, is the wrong decision.
Mm-hmm.
You learn from those decisions. You learn from those mistakes. It's how we grow.
Right.
And you got to have realistic expectations. Those expectations is what carves the pathway of life in front of you to move forward. And from a, well, I can't put it in any other better words than that. A realistic expectation is just realistic in general. You can't be unreasonable with yourself. So, and that's all I can really say about that mindset.
It really is. I mean, the past is such a, I mean, you can go crazy thinking about the things that we could have, would have, should have done. And the sooner that we can let it go and move forward, you know, the sooner we can actually enjoy the present and prepare ourselves for the future. I mean, that's why I've heard a couple different ways, like that's why we have memories of the past, is so that we don't repeat the same things in the future. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, that's the whole point of understanding history as well. You have history because you don't repeat the same mistakes that you did, you know, however many years ago. And that becomes a learning opportunity. And then you can tell other people, hey, here's why you shouldn't do this, because this is what happened when I did it and it didn't work out. And it sounds like that your outlook, given the difficult situation, has been nothing but you put the most positive light in what could be somebody who probably isn't as strong-willed may have just said, I'm out of here, I'll see ya, and given up on life.
Exactly.
And you continue to fight through that. And you know, that's I think that, I mean, there's just so much it's such a noble thing to do, because to me, I think that's such a selfless thing to do. It's not a selfish thing at all. It's a selfless thing to do, because you're paving the way for other people as well. You know, and it seems like the one who has to go through something that maybe not many people have ever gone through. You know, you're a chain breaker in many ways. You're paving the way to success on how to beat something. And so you're going through all the difficult experiences. But like, looking at the past, had you not gone through, you know, football, the military, police training, you know, those things, had those things not happened, who's to say that the mentality that you have now would have been the same? You know, because how many of our experiences that we had shaped who we are today? You know, like we talked about football, like how important was that to not give up? I mean, I still remember the 20-degree weather spring practices, and we were outside in the freezing cold.
Oh,
And
gosh,
just thinking that was like, to me, it was like, that's the worst day to be alive.
in the
And
morning too, like really
yes,
early.
oh my
Gosh.
goodness, those were awful.
Yeah.
And we got through it. And
Yeah.
you find out, hey, there's always something a little bit better at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And in the grand scheme of things, it made us better. So, so talk to me a little bit too about, you know, do you have, because obviously we've determined the strong-willed nature of yourself. Do you have, is there like a personal vision statement, or is there a mission? Is there something that, you know, is a personal why? You know, why do you continue to do this? Why do you have the good attitude? What is it that is getting you up every day saying, I'm going to beat this thing, I'm going to, and I'm going to put a smile on my face while I'm doing it?
Yes. Great question. Because I want to continue having great times with my family and friends. I want to be alive. I want to be around.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up and die.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's easy. A lot of people do that. I don't know why, but it's not us. That's not you, Sean. That's not me. That's not the others that we played with. They don't do that. They don't roll over and die. We fight. And I don't care if it takes my life. I'm going to fight to the bitter end.
Yeah.
And if it keeps coming back, I'm going to beat it again. I'm going to beat it again. Beat it again. I'm ready. always ready for that stuff. And, right now I have, I'll call it subsidiary goals. I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to have a 6-pack abs and at 250 pounds, run 2 miles at consistently in the Army at 240, 250 pounds at 12 and a half minutes.
That's
You
pretty
got to
good.
make it 13 minutes or under.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been doing that consistently because of
that's
Orange
pretty
Theory.
good.
Yeah, and beating all those small guys in the run.
Yeah,
Yeah, just beating them up. Showing them, leading by example. Hey,
yeah,
I'm twice your size and I'm killing you,
yeah,
dusting. Love that aspect. Love the challenge, and the competition still to this day.
yeah.
And where I live right now, I live at the Brave Stadium in Atlanta, right on site. It's been amazing.
Wow.
But I moved here just when COVID hit, so they canceled baseball, but they're bringing it back. So I'm already around another sports atmosphere. It's exhilarating. I love, I've never been a big baseball fan, but I'm going to get into it because the Braves are good, and it's going to be fun. And there's just so many opportunities in life to still endure and and just be a part of.
Yeah,
Why give up? You got to always fight. And again, it brings us to leadership. You want to also inspire others to learn from you, and not make the same mistakes you made, and and, and just learn how to overcome their own challenges themselves
mm-hmm.
if they have to endure anything. So
Right, right.
I think a lot of kids nowadays, they're not involved in what they used to be for us growing up,
Sure.
and maybe they just don't have that opportunity anymore to, I could be wrong, to face really hard, difficult challenges in football. Football's been kind of getting watered down lately with less practices because of the heat, and so I'm not trying to downplay anything. I mean, they probably should. It's more safe now than it used to be. They're taking care of those
Oh,
players.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, they're not getting the head injuries like they used to. They developed helmets better, and they've had a lot of innovation in football. So um, I hope they keep making strides doing it. But I other than that,
Do
yeah,
you have, do you have, this is one that I always like asking people. Do you have a go-to quote? Like I'll give you an example. So the one that I come back to a lot is from a guy named Jim Rohn. And one of my favorites of his is for things to change for you, you've got to change. And so that I always like that, because there's always something that I think that we can all do or be a little better at. And it's not about pointing the finger at anybody else, but rather it's what I call pulling the thumb. I heard that from a guy when I was coaching early on, and he was addressing our team, and he said, too many guys are pointing the finger. What you've got to do is pull the thumb. And when you pull the thumb, you're pointing back at yourself. And so you
yeah.
have to accept the responsibility. So do you have, is there a go-to quote or something that, or a phrase or a saying that you come back to when, you're in a dark place, because like I've said, it's just, I'm just talking to you about this. I'm in awe of how you've been able to fight this, man. It's incredible.
Uh, I always thought about one athlete in particular that said something that always stuck with me since the 90s and growing up. And Michael Jordan, he said something really simple and uh, really fascinating, and it had a whole lot of truth. It was he said something similar to this. Without goals, life is nothing. That's it. And you got to have constant goals throughout your life in order to just keep moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without a goal, what are you doing?
Right.
Well, either one, you're retired, or you're just laying on the beach and you've already achieved all your goals, and your goal is to just relax. Maybe that's still a goal.
Yeah.
You want to relax, that's your goal. I don't think you cannot not have a goal. Think about it. It's life is nothing without a goal.
Sure.
It don't exist. And that's all I can really say. I mean, that's my go-to. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
well, and that's easy to, it's easy to break down too, because you can have long range goals and the short range goals. You can have the daily goals,
Mm.
and if you're there was another one too. It was by Jim Rohn as well, that you bring up goals. Part of the fun of having a goal is checking it off the list, more or less,
Exactly.
is what he
Yeah.
said. And so that's part of the whole fun of having a goal, is you get to sit there and you say, you got it, got it, got it, got it. Hey, look at everything that I've accomplished for the day. And before you know it, it's like taking baby steps. Before you realize it, you've walked a mile,
Yeah.
and so those individual steps can really become pretty powerful. So what do you have? Have you read? My next one is always, I'm always interested in what someone is reading. Have you read any good books, or are you listening to any podcasts right now that you would recommend to anybody?
Yeah. I've actually listened to a whole. I can't tell you for podcasts. I've listened to a few in the past, and currently interesting enough about TBIs in the military. Instead of football, TBIs in the military are actually a lot worse. A lot worse. Those guys are getting those concussion blasts from bombs,
Mm-hmm.
grenades. That stuff internally beats you up, all your organs, not just your head. But those guys have been actually treating it with marijuana, and I've often thought about it myself with cancer, and if it keeps coming back, I just don't know. I'd be willing to try anything, if
Right.
chemo doesn't work. I
Right.
just want to live. If that could be an option one day when it's legal, I'll take advantage of that in my state. But um, it's eye-opening and very interesting to hear others' perspectives on what they've been through, deployed. Got a lot of respect those guys, and again, football players and soccer players, they have more concussions in soccer actually worldwide than
That's right.
football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those guys collide all the time and hitting the ball with their head. But that's an international sport. Football isn't really totally international yet. It is around the world, but it's not as popular.
It's not as mainstream here in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'll tell you, those guys can really take a thing or two from other outside the sports world, other professions endure
Mm-hmm.
traumatic brain injury and not just concussions. I mean, it's lifelong symptoms of just in pain, pure pain.
Right. Yeah.
Those guys, and if our good friend, Anthony Mirando,
Yeah.
he man, he football player only. He endured a lot of head injuries, and he
At
got
that linebacker position.
yeah, you're running at full speed and hitting, not just
Mm-hmm.
linemen were hitting each other at a lot of little hits over time,
Yeah.
but they were still concussive. I mean, actually, but his is at a full running start,
Yeah.
which is way harder. And if you could do that consistently every play, that adds up. And then practice, and he got diagnosed with I hope he doesn't mind if I share this. He got he knows, but he's shared this a lot. But post-concussive injury.
Okay.
Yeah, syndrome, post-concussive syndrome. And he's been battling through that, and he's a trooper. And he's been going through that since past 5 years, getting tested and all that stuff. And he's done a lot to move forward and find out what he has and identify it and learn how to live with it.
Right.
Because he was just always talking about, I see a gray haze all the time. And this is just from college. I couldn't imagine, playing in the league. And I'm sure the Danny Mears, the Colin Farrells, the Jack Williams, the Isama Youngs, all playing defense, how their heads feel.
Yeah.
And gosh, James Harrison, I don't know how their head feels nowadays, but I'm sure it's very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And I don't even know how I came out of it unscathed. I don't know how. I just remember the one big thing I always remembered was my face mask always needed to be replaced, but I rarely had scratches on the crown of my helmet.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing I always told players when I was coaching, you know, you want to keep away from a concussion. If your face mask is damaged, you're doing it right. But if your helmet is all damaged, you're doing it wrong. And that's going to set you up for a concussion. And I feel that is being under taught. I think that is the key, especially for linemen. That's the key up front for preventing a concussion. But
I agree with you on that. Make sure you're keeping your head up.
Yeah. So
facing forward.
But so I got a couple more things here because I know you got to leave. You got a meeting here. What would be, I guess, just your advice? You know, you got any? What would be a simple line from you for a piece of advice for anybody going through a situation similar to what you are going through?
You know, your family and friends are your support network. Use them. I use them every day. My neighbors, my mom and dad, my brother, my sister-in-law, and you know, even my best friends. They're always visiting. They're always calling me. Use them. Be around them. Be social. Don't be by yourself if you don't have to.
Yeah.
And that to me has helped me through this whole process. I mean, the overwhelming support from friends and family. It's been great. And it helps in turn have that, you know, it helps with that positive mindset again, you know, going back to that, just reinforces that.
Yeah.
And that has been one of the biggest, most important factors throughout this whole process. And
that's great advice. I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 2 words. All right. And give me the first thing. It can be a word or a phrase. What's the first thing that pops into your head? Okay. So first thing when you think strength, what's the first thing that pops in your head?
Maximus.
Okay. Love it. That's awesome. How about leadership?
Winston Churchill.
Ooh, that's good.
We're talking about first thing pops in your head. Okay.
Yeah.
Some of these might be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it.
Yeah.
What was it? Evil may deride it, I believe. But in the end, there it is. I might have butchered the second half of that, but that's
some good ones.
Pretty much the main point there. So that's okay. That's great. Now, the last thing, if anybody is listening and they feel so inclined to want to donate money to a cancer research, do you have a cancer research center that you could point them in the right direction to?
Yeah. Actually, I've been involved with there's a guy named Mike Craycraft that heads it's a small network, but it's a Testicular Cancer Awareness Society. Their color is purple instead of pink, like women. They have breast cancer, but there's another Testicular Cancer Society that's blue, but this one's purple. And I had purple wristbands at one point, but they've been very supportive throughout the whole process. Throughout my first go, I never told them about my second time I've had it. I need to get in contact with them, but they've been great program. They assign me other young men that have been through the similar circumstances and need advice on testosterone replacement. That stuff is kind of hard to get and get it right. Injections are the only way for young men, and I have to show them and give them advice on that through email and all that stuff. But yeah, they could donate to them. They only go off to donations. They're nonprofit. And the founder is a pharmacist on his spare time running that network because he had cancer himself, testicular cancer. And you know what? Testicular cancer is unique is because there's a little bit of there's men are not covered below the belt. If you get blown up there, IED or testicles need to be rebuilt like women with breast cancer. It's not the same. The 96 Women's Cancer Act covers women, but they don't cover a young man with injury down below the belt. You got to pay out of pocket. Now, luckily, my insurance company, I think they did cover it, but I think they felt bad. But I mean, they covered it, but they don't have to. It's not written in the law. So there's a little bit. I have went through a discussion with the American Cancer Society as well regarding that. And that actually went to the federal level to be discussed. And due to other urgent matters, that's going to be discussed later on. But, fighting for equal rights one day for males would be nice to see one day, maybe encompassed in the same act as females. So,
yeah.
It's interesting because it's not as prevalent,
I mean, it really isn't. You don't hear, it's not it's not mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't hear about it as much.
Exactly.
I think it's because a lot of guys are uncomfortable to talk about it. But
yeah.
I appreciate your willingness to discuss this, man. It's such an important topic, and I really think you're going to be able to help some people. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, I know you got to go. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do it?
Shoot me an email at sfrist321@gmail.com.
Awesome.
SFRIST321@gmail.com. Give me a holler. More than willing to help you, give you advice, anything, not just cancer related. I'll give you advice on anything in life. I've been through it all. You have been through it all, Sean. I know you can. So you can tell your stories. So
not as much as you, my friend, but you're quite the inspiration. And I'll link all that stuff in the description as well. So, but Sam, I know you got to get going, but I really appreciate it, man. We're going to have to get back together.
Most definitely. I'll make that trip to Ohio.
We'll talk a little bit more, and I wish nothing but the best for you, brother. I'll be praying for you, and we'll see you through the end of this.
Most definitely. I'll be there. I'll see you at the end of the tunnel, warrior. All right, take it easy.
See you, Sam.
Bye.